All right, time for another preview, the big one, India England at Wankhede. Sunil, tell us about some of the head-to-head stats we were just chatting about because there's something in there.
I mean, before we even get to head, this is the third semi-final in a row in T20 World Cup cricket that India and England are going to be facing off. And I don't think in cricket World Cup history that includes ODI World Cup. I'm actually just thinking about the ODI World Cups, and I think this has never happened. Two teams facing off in the semi-finals. If I'm not wrong, I don't think this happened in T20 World Cup either, because I was thinking about it and reached till about 2012 or 14 or something, and I don't think it's happened before. So this is a first for sure, and it's quite a coincidence that two teams facing off, making the semifinals is big enough in three consecutive World Cups, but facing off, yep, that's what aligning of gods mean. The first time India played England in that semifinal, England actually thrashed India, 10-wicket win. Was a quite a painful match to watch. The last time around, I think India seemed very invincible, much like what England were in the on the previous occasion. So it's a best of three all to play for today, or whenever they play on Thursday.
On Thursday, yes, and with all to play for, I think you have a favorite, Samir. So tell us the contrarian view and why.
Well, if I have to go with the mind, I would probably say India probably has the upper hand, but I have to go with the heart. And in the event that South Africa makes the final, which I hope that they do, and I think they will, and I know they will, then I have to go with England because we cannot have, I don't want them to be playing India in Ahmedabad. But from a real standpoint also, I think everyone's focused too much on the fact that England has scraped through. England has just done enough to get through. Yes, in the group stages, they didn't look great, but I think, they've beaten two subcontinent teams in the Super 8s. They did well to come through against New Zealand. And even though they haven't had like anyone like a star stand out, maybe Will Jacks, but everybody else has been doing their thing. Harry Brook came to the party when he had to, and Salt and Butler, you can't rule them out, and it's time for them to shine. So England all the way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game with and the fact that Will Jacks, that was so interesting. I just read a stat this morning where he's actually not played at number 7 that often. I mean, he's played 200 T20Is before 2025 and only played once at number 7. So last year is when he started playing there, and what a tournament. It's almost like I think the last time someone had 4 Man of the Match award was Shane Watson, right?
Shane Watson in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being in the same press conference as Shane Watson during that tournament, and he looked as surprised as all of us that. And Australia did not do well in that tournament. They crashed out. So that's another thing going against England, probably.
Yeah. You also had a personal memory, Sunil, that you wanted to share about an India-England encounter that was pretty one-sided but special.
Special in a lot of ways, but yes, this was the last time. In fact, it was at Wankhede. The last time India England played was at Wankhede last year. There was a series between the two, and it would probably plug into our next section where we talk about the pitch. But that seemed to be a very typical hardcore flat batting wicket. India batted first, and we had an Abhishek Sharma special, a 50 ball, 130 odd, and England replied with a 90 of their own. So yeah, it was a one-sided match. I was with a friend of mine who had never watched a cricket match in the stadium before, so that was her debut watching something, and she was kind of surprised that this is how players play. I mean, this is how it looks to watch an innings of that magnitude from the ground. I said, yeah, it's been a special day. It's not something that happens every time, because I've been to Wankhede before and we have had some really crazy memories, some not so great memories playing
Mm.
at Wankhede. Having watched New Zealand beat India in that three-test match series, so I was there for those days, and it was not a great
Well,
memory.
but
Just
the
months before that.
but the last knockout that we had at Wankhede was a pretty good one against New Zealand. So
Correct.
my take is it's going to be a close match, but the crowd energy is what's probably going to drive India over the line. I hope for a selfish reason it's not a blowout. I think everyone wants a close match. I think it'll be a good test for India before the final if they go through. But yeah, I think the crowd energy is going to make a big difference. Right, let's talk about the Wankhede pitch. Obviously, not as slow as Colombo. Harry Brook's been pretty out there saying they're going to play players on the conditions, not on form. How is all that going to impact the match? Maybe Sunil, we'll start with you. Talk about the pitch and conditions.
So India played USA at Wankhede, and that was the first match of the tournament, and there was a lot of talk of India scoring 250, the 300 mark being breached. But that pitch wasn't a 250 or even a 200 pitch. It required Surya Kumar Yadav to come in and kind of rescue India. And Wankhede typically with that kind of outfield, short boundaries, we'd seen, you spoke about the New Zealand semi-final and India scoring, I think 380 if I remember correctly. So yes, those pitches are typically Mumbai pitches are very batting friendly, but there was that exception against US. So it depends on the kind of pitch that we encounter. That will also play a part in India deciding whether they want to bat first or field first if they win the toss. Because if we have a very flat pitch, then I would probably think India would want to field first, despite what happened at Wankhede last time between India and England. Um, if it's a turner, then you might want to bat first. You might want to put the runs on the board and hope that the dew remains away, because what you see at Wankhede typically is that it will start forming early if it forms, and it will remain the same across the whole 4 hours of the match. So I'd suggest I would think that is what would happen.
Yeah, so no major disadvantage for the teams that don't do well at the toss, but one game changer could be the form of Butler. Samir, what do you think is going to change or not for Joss?
Yeah, I think there's been a bunch of focus on him. I mean, the guy has played 150 games. His strike rate's about 140, 145. So obviously, always a candidate for one of the best players in this sort of format of the game. Form has been poor. He started the tournament with a couple of scores in the 20s, and then he scored, I think, 3-3, 7-2, and 0, which is poor by any standards. But I think, Harry Brook has sort of had his back and said that, I mean, if there is fire in the belly, we can't count him out, and he is a big game player. I know there's sort of Ben Duckett is there in the wings, and he has a shot, but I think you just have to go with Butler on the big game, and he has to come good. I mean, there is everything sort of which says he is just due and due big. And I think once he starts to sort of middle the ball and get a few things going his way, he can go big.
Yeah, and we were just chatting about this yesterday. Somehow it reminds me of Shane Watson in that IPL where he didn't come through in any of the games and scored that big one in the knockout. I think Butler, yeah, he looked terrible against Sri Lanka, but against the West Indies he was looking okay. I think that pressure to get that boundary. If Salt does well and Harry Brook plays like he's been doing, maybe that pressure goes off. And like Abhishek Sharma, where that first, you know, 3 or 4 balls where you want to get that boundary off, if he can somehow get that confidence from the team that take your time, maybe we'll see a Butler special. But again, that's maybe saving it for the final. Who knows? We'll wait.
You spoke about Abhishek Sharma there, and it's the same for both the openers. Abhishek
Yeah.
Sharma is in the probably very young career in a confidence rut of his own, and it's the same with Butler. It's sometimes you need that one impactful shot or even a mini innings like a 10 ball 20 to get going, and even a 10 ball 20 if he gets out, Butler, or even an Abhishek Sharma, he might have done his job. And Ishan Kishan has done it in the past as well. Just those quick fire 20-25 runs, you get the innings moving and the confidence is back.
Yeah, and if a player like Butler is on a 10 of 20 at the power play, I don't think India will feel too good about it, even though it's a low strike rate, because it's Butler. So I think that itself is one thing that England want to do to make sure that he stays.
I mean,
Samir, you were saying something?
I was just saying, I mean, the Butler issues are longer dated than the Abhishek Sharma issues. I think I was seeing a stat that says like in the last 25 matches, he's made a half century once, and that also against a non-test playing team. So I think there's broader issues. I think the end of the road is near, but big game, I wouldn't bring somebody else in. Just keep the faith and just hope for the best.
Okay, so we haven't talked too much about bowling, so let's talk about that. Maybe we'll start with India's firepower, starting with VC. Thoughts on Varun Chakravarti doing well against England at Wankhede, Sunil?
He's not done too well this tournament. 3 consecutive matches now. He has figures of 3 for 122 from 12 overs. That's conceding over 10 and over, and that's not the best look for a bowler who was supposed to be, along with Bumrah, the best bowler that India have had in this format for a long time. But against England in that very series last year, he finished with 14 wickets from those 5 matches and was the man of the series in that tournament, in that series. So you have a bit of both. You have a bowler who's not been in form, but you have a bowler who has also done well against a particular opponent. So that confidence will be there. It's just that what has happened, I think, the sense that I'm getting is that big hitters who are able to play Varun like an incoming medium pacer, like how they used to do against Anil Kumble, and they're able to hit through the line on the easy pitches. He's also missed his length, I think, on a few occasions, which has allowed the batters to muscle it through the line. And I think if there is no assistance in the pitch, that could be a problem if he misses those lengths again and lines again. So that has been a problem for him.
Yeah, I feel he's one of those kind of bowlers who once he gets hit, I think it's harder for him to come back. I think he somehow loses the plot. He maybe takes it too hard on himself because he has such high standards for himself. Almost like Josh Butler when he's batting. You feel that he's just dragging the energy down. But we'll see. We'll see how he does.
We have a Butler
Um,
fan club here. We try to bring Butler in every time we speak about anyone
well,
else.
I want him to do well. Like I want it to be a good contest. That's all. Samir, what do you think about England's bowling attack? Looks a little bit toothless. We were talking about it against a pretty strong Indian batting lineup.
I think Archer can cause his issues up front, especially with Samson. But I think some of the more military medium bits and pieces bowlers who've done well against other teams, I think if the Indian batting is on song, I think it's a little bit harder. Like I can't really see all of Rashid and Jax and Rehan, all of them sort of troubling India. India they have some big hitters and it won't be that easy for England.
Bits and pieces cricketer, he used those words, famous last words. The last time an Indian commentator used those words, I think it came back to bite him in a long way. I think Samir would be happy if it comes back to bite him, given that England would be on top. But yeah, bits and pieces cricketers, yes, some of them are. Will Jacks, I don't know. I mean, he's done well, 4 man of the match awards, but he seems somebody who can be targeted. Adil Rashid has done well in his career. He has had a long career, but against India in T20 internationals, he's not picked up, like he's picked up a few wickets, but he's gone for about 8 and over. So it's not like he's a match winner of his own. The one match winner that there is Jofra Archer. Sam Curran, again, I mean, on his day, he'd do well with his Yorkers, but on his day, he can be taken apart as well. And especially if the pitch is flat, then I think this bowling attack is ripe to be taken.
Talking about bowling, one more thing that I want to mention is also that India seem to have this habit right now of bringing in their weaker bowlers when the new batsman is in, hoping that it takes a few balls for the new batsman to sort of get set. I don't think that's how England bats. England goes for it from ball one. So that approach of Sky might have to change.
We can use the name here. You're talking about Shivam Dube. Anyone else?
Yeah,
We're talking about, I think we could be talking about anyone who's
him,
not
we talk about Hardik Pandya. Yeah.
Pandya.
who's not a Bumrah or a Varun Chakravarti, because it happened against South Africa as well, that they just lost a wicket and there was no sign of Bumrah or Varun Chakravarti coming in. It happened in the last match as well. So I think Samir rightly said, Surya Kumar Yadav has a bit of a question mark over his captaincy in that sense. And if India goes on to win the World Cup, then all of it would be brushed on the carpet. But if not, then there are these question marks that sometimes the moves are a little defensive in nature.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see what's going to happen on Thursday.